Welcome to Boomhauer 69 channel, and today Boomhauer is going to do a little walking trip. And a few months back, I did a video about the one big nature trail, and I showed the two little nature trails in my town that's kind of geared more towards just the local community and people to walk and stuff. And I'm going to show you what I can show you now. Now these two trails I'm going to try to show you are near the river, so they're possibly flooded right now with all the snow melting and the warm temperatures, the rain and snow mix we've been getting. So there's a good chance that it might be flooded, but I'll take you along and show you what I can show you. Show you what little bit of trails I can show you and stuff. But in case you're wondering about this Amish hat, where did I get this? I'm not Amish. Not Amish, never was. I got this hat off from eBay from an eBay seller out in Pennsylvania, that makes these hats. I just randomly typed in Amish hats in eBay, and that's where I got this hat. And it was from an eBay seller that was out in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So yeah, in case you're wondering. Well, I'll see you when I get there. Here we are. In my last video I did many months back, I talked about I was walking that way on the nature trail and talking about that part. But here's the two little trails here that I'm referring to. And I mentioned these in this one and this one in the video I did last. I talked about these two trails, and we'll check them out. They've been here for quite some time now, over probably about almost 20 years now. I think when I was about middle school is when they started putting these trails in for the community and people around to walk and ride bikes on, And of course, like anything, it has the typical poison ivy area, no motor vehicles, please clean up after your pet, point meaning pick up your dog poop, Well, we'll go for a little stroll here and see how far we can go until, well, I guess we won't get very far until it floods. Because, again, in the other video, that right there, it's the Grand River, and that floods this good old boy. It floods are good. Now, it's in the upper 20s Fahrenheit, so we won't be able to do much walking, because right now the ice, I would say, is not safe to walk these on, and then I'm not going to be that dummy and end up in the Grand River and die of hypothermia. Because right now it's in the low 30, I think it's like 28 or 26 out Fahrenheit. I don't know what that'd be in Celsius, because I never learned much Celsius, but yeah. Well, folks, this is as far as we're going to get, because it's, again, the Grand River's flooded everything and stuff like every year it does. Because around this time we're getting the warmer weather, the rain and snow, and the water rises and stuff. I forget what they call that when it rises up, the water rises up and stuff, the fancy names for it. But yeah, right now it's about in the 20s, in the upper 20s, lower 30s Fahrenheit, for those of you that do Celsius. The weather temperature is about 26, 28 Fahrenheit. But yeah, if you take this nature trail, it'll take you around to the local train depot and stuff, and around that area and back through town, basically. But yeah, I'll show you a little bit here of the surroundings. But right here is the beginning, so yeah. Can't show you too much because I don't walk on ice, and I'm not going to be the stupid guy who ends up falling in the river and getting hypothermia, and just to make a views for YouTube. I'm not Steve-O from Jackass and them. I'm not that kind of daredevil. And the way the temperatures we've been having, yeah, you'd fall through the ice and be wet, freezing cold. Hypothermia would get you good and proper. Well, I'll show you the other little nature trail over here. I'll show you the other one. What I can show you anyways, but right now it's again, water's all flooded and everything, you know. But yeah, in the spring and summer, they have over here on this side the parking lot where people can park their cars and walk these nature trails, and they have sometimes set up some picnic tables and a few little kind of like stuff you can use to exercise on, like I don't know what you call some of that stuff, like those. They got these little wooden posts in the ground and these two little in a space in between these two little handbars, and you can do kind of like gymnastics like stuff. And they also have the bars where you can do pull-ups and stuff, you know. When I was a lot skinnier, I could do some pull-ups, but me being a big guy now, I didn't. Because back in 2013, I lost a lot of weight, and in 2016, I lost a lot of weight, but it's just, I fell back into old habits and went back to being kind of a bigger boy, you know. And that happens, but yeah, there's some more of the waters and flooding and all that stuff. I'll get a better view of it. But yeah, there's how the river floods. There's the good proper flooding. I think instead of switching back and forth from front and rear camera, I think I'll just, from here on, kind of keep the camera pointed this way a little bit for y'all. But yeah, this is how the river floods, you know. Now, the river here is what they call the Grand River, and it every year like this it floods. And even in the springtime, when we get our what they call final thaw, where everything finally unthaws and becomes a wet money mess, it is way worse, where you can practically go kayaking. So yeah, we'll see how far we can go until we get a break. Now that right there, where I'm pointing that dirt road, that's the actual driveway into this nature trail when they have it open in the spring and summer for people to go hiking. Now you can kind of walk this, you know, for traffic. They don't mind if you're in the wintertime just walking this nature trail and stuff, but yeah. Matter of fact, I'll go over here and get a road. But in the summer, in the wintertime, so they don't gotta plow this, they just block it off so traffic can't get back in here and people can't, you know, try to four-wheel and do stupid things with their vehicles and different things. But yeah, that's the actual walking trail. This we're on right now would be the actual driveway. I'll walk a little further here because we can get a little further more. But yeah, right now I can't again show you people a whole lot of this nature trail because right now it's wintertime and it's flooded. So that's what I can do. So hit the push button on that. But I will, in the springtime, if I don't forget, I will possibly come back out here and in the spring and summertime, and when you can do so, simply, let's see. But yeah, it's a big icy lake. That's what the river does, is flood this thing. So in the spring and summer, when it's unflooded and everything's cleared, I'll come back out here and do a better video to show you people what this town's got. But yeah, that's how the ice is. It's nothing but stomps. Yep, because everything's getting ready to unthaw. Springtime is coming. But again, I'll show you guys. But that way is where the nature trail kind of does this. It kind of loops around there and then goes back into like a big open field and round circle. And there's a docks where you can go fishing and different things, you know. I fished that before, and well, yeah. I just started make this video because I forgot all about the nature, this part of the nature trail. But here's a more kind of what it looks like. We was just over at that one over there, so I'll do a pan around view. But yeah, it's a nice little nature trail, you know. In the spring and summertime, you can see wildlife, bunnies, and all different animals. And even in the spring and summertime, came out here and smelled Pepe Le Pew, the skunk, you know, and stuff. So yeah. it's a for a small town. It's a nice little basic nature trail, like any small town would have. But yeah, but right now it's February and everything's again all frozen and rivers frozen up and flooded stuff, so you can't go back in there like you can in spring and summer. But I'll again try to do a video of that section there. That section there, I'll try in both in the spring and summer when it's all cleared and you can actually walk it if I don't forget. Because I forget, just like I would have done this stuff sooner, but I just forgot all about it, slipped my mind, and I was like, oh yeah, I should do that. But yeah, I'll walk the up here, the other section of the nature trail, and show you the other end on where the depot is and stuff, and show you that, and where the other nature trail ends and ends, whatever, the other side of the other one if I can, and show you all that. Now here's more of the flooded river. This is on the grassy area. I actually gotta be careful because it's icy right here. Don't want to slip and push my foot and end up going for a good swim. I support those ooh, look at that, there's a squirrel. I don't know if you can see that. See if I can't zoom in. There was a squirrel right there. Probably going to his supply of nuts, because we have in Michigan walnut trees, and I know squirrels like walnuts and stuff. And I know I think it was chipmunks that like acorns, and I know squirrels like walnuts, acorns, and all that stuff. Yeah, right there's more of the nature trail there. That squirrel was somewhere, ran off over in those bushes. He went kind of fast, so I don't know if I got him on camera or not. And I do apologize for really being real fast at whipping that camera over there, So, oh, but yeah. Well, there's more on the nature trail, and somewhere kind of in between there's actually a little dock in the spring and summer, a little wooden dock that you can fish from, but it's right now covered in the snow and ice and flooded water, so. But yeah, that's pretty flooded, because that little nature trail that goes down to the train depot museum area, and in the spring and summer, and even in the winter, sometimes they have it opened up for a special occasion. It's not one of those museums that's opened up like Monday through Fridays or anything like that. It's just a museum that on certain days and occasions is opened up, and they have a little bit of town history. And the lady that runs it, I remember talking to her, and she actually told me right out that they actually have a ton of stuff about my little town, but they just ain't got really the place, really the room to display it and have like the next town over a good full-fledged museum, like they just ain't got the funding because this town's so small. But the other part of the actual West Michigan bicycle trail, and the last video again I did was going down that way where my finger is pointing. I did all the way down there a good ways, and that takes you, and if you walk that, you gotta walk about 10 miles and you'll hit the next town over, and then the same with this side. If you walk about a good 10 miles about, you'll hit the next town over. So I'm this small town's in between two bigger towns. The town I live in is in between two bigger towns. So if you keep walking this way or that way, you're gonna run into another town. So right now I'm walking west. So if the next town over, let's say I was lost and I didn't know my whereabouts, if you keep going west like I'm heading, you'll end up walking to a next town. And then if you back that way is east, and if you walk that way east, you're gonna hit a town. You're gonna come across a town, 10 miles away. And and stuff. So if you're traveling this area, you know, if you're traveling through this area and you're from out of state, you don't know this area, and you walk this nature trail and you go east and you're in this town and you start in the town that I live in and you travel east or west, you're gonna eventually run into town. If you get lost, you just keep going east, you're gonna come across a town, you know, and where safety is and stuff. And I definitely want to mention that, so people who know about my town but don't know this nature trail very well, you don't got too much to worry about, because you'll eventually run into another town and stuff. And so it's like in this area of nature trail, like getting, like, you know how some people will get lost out in the wilderness and they gotta get a search and rescue team to find them. Around this area, I'd say you have a very slim chance of ending up getting lost where you'd have to have a search and rescue team, because if you keep walking east or west, you're going to eventually run into a town and be able to get to safety and so forth and so on. But yeah, well, that's what Boomhauer does. I walk this nature trail numerous of times in the winter and spring and summer, and for the fun of it. Mostly in the spring and summer, not too much in the winter, but when the weather's just right, I usually do and stuff. So yeah. But yeah. And well, we're coming up on the train station museum depot here, and I'll show you all that stuff. Right here, our little museum train depot, you know, that's where they store a restored fire truck, you know. And then there's another little building where they usually set up some antique horse carriages and stuff. But yeah, our village put a lot of money into making this train depot what it is, because years ago, this property right here, before it was a train depot, it was actually a farmer's elevator, grain elevator, where trains would come down when this was a railroad track and fill up on grain and stuff, you know, like a feeder mill or whatever you want to call it for farmers. And when I was a kid, it was in the early 90s, I was just a little toddler, I remember they had the farmer's elevator here and stuff, and I remember it. But what happened was the guy who owned it, because I was friends with a local farmer. I was neighbors with a local farmer for many years, and he was one of those farmers that knew all the farmers in the area, and he knew the guy that ran this farmer's elevator that used to be here. And what happened was this, from my understanding, was this: he was one of those guys that he just went in debt and unfortunately went under. And then later on, the village, which town I live in, they bought it, and then they restored this old train depot that was part of Saranac's history and made a museum. But bridge right here and main road, this is actually walking on the sidewalk in the main town. But there's what they call our little museum train depot, the Boston Saranac Historical Society. That's the town I lived in. Back in the day, this was the train depot was in a different location, and people would come and would come here to ride the trains to the next town over, you know. But yeah, there's the train depot. Right now I'm walking on the public sidewalk, but yeah, I'll show you more of the flooded river stuff. But yeah, there's our local little historical gold train depot that they restored and turned into a museum, you know, back in the 90s. Because actually, that over by the other part of the nature trail I was showing y'all, there was that little dirt road street that I was walking on is actually called Depot Street. And for many years before restoring this train depot, they actually dragged it there and parked it there and let it sit there for quite a few years and just repair, and then they finally got around to restoring it. Video I did months back about the nature trail, and I pointed the park. I think that's where this train depot was originally at, and the railroad tracks, of course, went by that park, and that park where the park is now, I think is where this train depot actually sat, and where they back when it was active and used by the Grand Trunk Railway system as a train depot for passengers, or back when trains were popular to ride to go to the next towns and stuff in the horse and buggy days, if I remember right, in which would make perfect sense to why. But yeah, in the spring and summer, towards the end of fall and August, we have a festival, and they have this thing opened up, and they have a little kind of arts and crafts show, flea market thing going on and stuff, and they have it all opened, and they also got this right here train caboose open, and they have vintage stuff in there, and they from the past, like they even have an old, I remember going in there, they have on display an old telegraph machine that's really interesting, which is another thing I would like to recreate, is recreate an old style telegraph, the telegraph machine, and make my own working telegraph machine where I could, if the grid went down and stuff, I could hurry up, climb the telephone poles and tap in the telephone line and send Morse code and stuff. I think about kind of odd stuff like that from time to time. But yeah, I'll show you the river here. It's the other end of that nature trail I was talking about. Because see, where my finger's pointing, that nature trail, I showed you the start of it. You come down through here, and then you come up here, and then you walk up to the sidewalk, and it takes you to more party. A lot of people when they want to walk the nature trail, they'll a lot of times park here in the main town. No, I'll show you right here, and they got a bunch of benches where and picnic table and sit down. But a lot of people will park in this parking lot, in the depot parking lot, and walk these nature trails and stuff. This parking lot here, it's right in the downtown area, which I highly recommend if you're from out of town and you don't know much about the area and stuff, and you want to tour this local nature trail. I highly suggest parking here, because then that way you're right in town. We have gas stations, if you got to get gas or whatever the case may be, you can get a hold of somebody easy, quickly, go to the local restaurants or gas station and say, hey, my car's broke down, I need help. And I would highly recommend, if you're from out of town, to park in this parking lot for safety reasons too. And since it's right in downtown, there's so much traffic, so many people, you're less likely to have somebody probably break into your car and steal your property and stuff, because theft and crime happens everywhere. Even in my town, I lived out in the country in this town of Saranac. I lived out in the country and had people steal stuff from me in the past, from my family. Even moving in town, I had bicycles and stuff stealing, so that happens everywhere. And I think that this parking lot would be the perfect one for people that are coming from out of town to park, and that don't know the area, from out of state or out of town to park and stuff for safety reasons. But there's we'll tour that a little bit, though. There's the little picnic table bench here. And then what they have is these little benches where people can sponsor them or whatever you call it. And all it is people will go to wherever, and I thought about doing this, and they'll buy a bench, and they'll put in loving memory of their loved ones or whatever, And I thought about doing that for my mom and dad that passed away, is if I ever got the money, is have one of these benches set up somewhere in town. And they're all over the main part of town and stuff, and at the park too as well, as they call it, Shides Park. But yeah. But here's the flooded river. Here's a good view of what the river does, And I even seen it way higher than this. This, I say, is mild compared to what I've seen in the past. But yeah, this nature trail, you used to be able to, when it's not flooded, you used to be able to walk right under the bridge and everything. But yeah, I'll get a little bit close here. This is about as far as I'm gonna go, as you can see. Yep, there's what they call the Grand River. There's a good view of it. And there's that nature trail. This is the other end of the nature trail, where you'd come right up here, and then you could walk up to the sidewalk and head back to town. But if that was cleared and you could walk it, it would take you right where I showed you at the other end and stuff. But here's some kind of foliage or whatever you want to call it, grass. But yeah. And zoom in on the sign there. That's for the boaters and stuff, you know. Here, we'll see if we can't zoom in that. Yeah, that's as far as you can zoom. Bridge Street, welcome to Saranac. That's a sign they put up to let the boaters know where they're at, you know. And then on the other side over there, that's the actual boat launch, where you can also park your vehicle and launch your boat. They got a boat launch where you can launch your boat onto the Grand River. And that's, again, back there. If you was to walk this trail would take you over to the actual boat launch, where a lot of people do fishing and launch their boats onto the Grand River. This river is called the Grand River, and what it is it's just a big, giant, flat, deep river. It's not one of those white water type rivers. It's pretty much, as far as I understand, it's just a big, giant, flat river that goes for miles, and it's a good kayak. I have family members that kayaked it and stuff. I haven't kayaked it yet. That's on the to-do list, but I had an uncle that loves fishing, and he's got a fishing kayak stuff, and he's done kayaking on the river and stuff. But yeah. But again, these benches are just for public people to sit and enjoy the scenery and stuff when it's nice out and stuff. And how, I think what they do is they go to the village office and they say, hey, I'd like to sponsor one of those benches, and then they have a saying put on them, like in loving memory and stuff. I thought about, for my family, figuring out how to do that and put in loving memory of my parents that passed away and stuff. But the only problem is with that is you got these kids that will take out their pocket knife and carve all kind of stuff in it and graffiti them, as they call it. And I'd have one of those benches made, and I'm no country boy, and I'd see somebody graffitiing, and I'd see the one I had sponsored graffiti, and I'd be so gosh darn pissed that would make me mad, and I'd be so mad that I would wanna I'd wanna put on camouflage and be sitting duck watching the little hood rats and be like, well, you know. But yeah. But here's the little. All this is, it's just the historical society is like any small town, you know. It's just a group of people that volunteer to help bring history to Saranac, you know, and stuff. I grew up years ago next to a 100-year-old farmhouse, and that my grandpa didn't do right and keep and maintain. He didn't do right with the house, and he actually left all of his valuable possessions in it to let it go to waste, where if he would have done right, he could have had a lot of vintage things and probably could have donated some history stuff to the society. But he was one of those types of old people that just wouldn't do right and fix up the house he had, because he had bought this back in the 70s, this old 100-year-old farmhouse, and that needed work. It needed a roof and foundation, and he would never fix it. It wasn't one of those things where he didn't have the money to fix it. It's just simply he was lazy and he wouldn't fix it, and he let it go so bad where you couldn't live in it and you had to move out. And instead of doing what normal people would have done, pack up their crap and move out of the house properly, you know, get a trailer and load up and move somewhere else, he just left all his stuff behind in that house and then Mother Nature, the roof started leaking really bad, rain, and Mother Nature got to some of that stuff and rushed it out. And like one time he had in there a really old vintage, I remember, tube style AM radio with a record player on it that would have been worth money nowadays, but he just let Mother Nature take it over and rust it out. Yeah, there's a little village. Right, there's a little village bell and stuff. There's some more little benches and stuff. But yeah, I'm right now walking right now on the actual public sidewalk heading back to town. I'm not gonna go the nature trail way back to my house. I'll just walk right in downtown here. But yeah, my grandpa could have back in the day, if he were done right with his stuff, instead of just leaving it in that old abandoned house, he could add some vintage items and probably donate to the village center about the town history. But my grandpa just didn't have the proper brains to, keep and maintain a 100-year-old house and keep and maintain the stuff. He just let stuff go to crap, and where you just gotta get a dumpster and send it to the landfill and stuff. So, and I was always, as a kid growing up, kind of sad about that, because I always thought it would have been cool to see what that house was like and stuff as a kid. And what it would have looked like in its heyday, as they call it. But, yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little video here. I tried to do my best I can with the camera and stuff. I'm a beginner learner at this stuff. So I'm new to the whole thing, and hope you enjoyed this little video. Now I'm gonna head back in my house and get warmed up, because I can feel my toes getting a little frosty right there. So hope you all enjoyed this little video, and if you like this sort of content, feel free to subscribe to my channel and comment below your thoughts and what you liked about the video. If you learned something from it, what you liked about it. Comment below your thoughts on this video and stuff, and hope you learned something. And again, if you like this sort of content, feel free to subscribe to my channel, because I'll be doing more of this kind of content and stuff down the line as time goes on and stuff, and I get better at this stuff, and stuff. And so, yeah. And again, subscribe to the channel. Hope you all have a good day, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. And to everyone watching, thank you for taking the time to watch my videos and stuff. It's going to help me out and also help me learn along the way and stuff. So hope you all have a good day, and again, thank you for watching.